guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to raidlore Stories. Today's lore story is going to be for Senna Amberheart. She's a newer legendary void dwarf that was added to the game about the same time as the Wixwell fusion, right? I actually really like her design quite a bit. I think she looks beautiful. Like, honestly, I feel like this would be such a fun cosplay to do. She looks amazing. I love her design. She's just a really neat champ overall. So I want to read her story. So let's read it together. Senna of the Sky Iron Dominion was a dreamer and a thinker like none other in the Grey Age. Her expansive intellect distanced her from the average dwarf, and she felt a faint pity and disdain for those around her, who all lacked her grasp of the laws of RuneScript and science. Her peers were in turn alienated by her incomprehensible theories on matter and its underlying structures, and her tendency to ignore the mundane daily upkeep of her body while she was absorbed in research. Her work narrowed in scope and advanced quickly after a dwarven explorer of the upper world returned with a sample of amber from the ancient rainforests of Torslin Istrav, which Senna purchased and analyzed. The sample held a small insect captured within, locked within a state of stasis. She had previously theorized about preserving living things within solid matrices, and saw that nature had already done so. Could the process be made reversible? She commissioned the explorer to bring her as much amber as possible. Senna invented various modes of preservation and restoration of living tissue based on applying runes to amber, such as binding sap to wounds and transmuting the sticky liquid to match the flesh, healing injuries whilst leaving no sign of the damage or its treatment. Though a remarkable development, the dwarves had other means of magical healing, and Senna sought something unique, locking living flesh in temporal stasis, improving upon the amber that had preserved an insect body from decay, but at the cost of the animal's life. She wished to satisfy her endlessly intellect curiosity by transporting herself to the distant future, hoping to emerge in an enlightened world of fantastically advanced magic and technology, where the average dwarf might be as brilliant as herself. She accumulated enough amber to fuse a chunk large enough to hold her, which she inscribed with paradoxical runes of life and timelessness, which she designed to slowly dissipate over many centuries and then release the occupant. Senna made herself the first test subject and set the runic timers for 2,000 years. Missed by few and hidden behind wards, traps, and illusions within her laboratory, she remained undisturbed as time rolled on. Had nothing intervened, Senna would be slumbering there to this day, but someone did, the Arbiter. For all Senna's genius, she did not have the Arbiter's access to the waters of life and an intimate view of the process of death and transference of souls that took place there. The Arbiter believed she could modify and interrupt that process to store a being, body and soul, in a tiny space, letting her preserve outstanding heroes from the ravages of age and contain terrible threats. Wise and mighty though she was, the Arbiter could not create her theorized soul vessels. Not without time and effort, she could not afford to spare while the disastrous consequences of the sins of the dragons were still unfolding. Rumor had reached her of Senna's experiments, and she sought the dwarf out. The Arbiter dispelled Senna's illusions and runes and gently released the dwarf to Senna's fury. She praised Senna's accomplishment and asked for help iterating upon her results. The dwarf bristled at the interruption, citing her people's disdain for divine beings. But the Arbiter was not easily dissuaded. She demanded that Senna accompany her to see the urgency of the request. Senna felt the Arbiter's radiance of glory and gravitas, like bright sunshine, warming her skin and watering her eyes. But for all her majesty, the Arbiter seemed fearful. Worried and curious, Senna relented. The Arbiter swept them across Solaria's skies at tremendous speed. Senna saw the hellish brimstone gate and the annihilation of the Dragon Empire, which had been mighty in her day. She realized that if she had not been prematurely released, she might have awoken to a nightmare in which Solaria had fallen while she was helplessly sealed away. Even a chance to struggle of futility would be better than passivity. Senna also realized her arcane mastery and theory crafting were hollow without practical uses. Recalling her amber healing craft and seeing the terrible suffering of the demon spawn invasion, she not only helped the Arbiter with the creation of shards, but also crafted an amber-tipped staff to magnify her healing techniques, with which she saved numerous lives during the First Great War. When it ended, she asked the Arbiter to place her within a shard so she could live to see a bright future. She has seen many futures, in fact, having been released many times over the centuries to heal important figures and marvel at the progress of the world. And yet Senna has always asked me to return to the shard, for she believes Teleria still has much to do to reach her exacting standards. Guys, okay, I gotta say, I like this story. I kind of saw where this was going, how the Arbiter had help in creating what the shards are. So I actually really like that, is it gives us an idea of how the shards came to be. Because a lot of times in the lore stories, we see the Arbiter showing up and placing a champion in the shard. And again, if you're familiar with the game, we open shards to get champs. But like, how did that whole concept come about? So I love how in this story, they actually start to link that about what the concept behind shards were, how it started, and how it became created. So I really like that about this story. It's a short story. Because I know, it's funny. Those of you guys watching on YouTube, my chat likes to make short jokes about dwarves and stuff. But guys, I would love to know, what do you think for this story for Senna Amberheart? Like I said, I really like the fact how they displayed how shards were made using her story. I think that that's fantastic. Guys, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this lore story, and thanks for watching.